Hello, hello, hello. Thank you everybody for being here with me today. I appreciate you all for being here with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry for that in the background. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here with me today. This is going to be a really quick live. I am just here to give you guys a really quick update on some things that is happening with Marcellus Williams and a new case that we need to be following. Let me just make sure I got a little bit of music on. It's a little bit quiet. Okay. And let me come and make sure I say hello really quickly. Let's make sure that's not too loud. All right. Okay. Hey, Bay, how you doing, honey? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Again, so this is going to be a pretty quick live. No, those are my written words, but that's not me singing. You guys will never get a chance to hear that. That's for me and me alone. Yeah. So, okay, I'm just going to start really quickly because I know there's a lot of people live right now. There's a lot of things going on, but this is very important. So I want to make sure that I get the information out there. Hopefully this all plays really good and we don't have no issues there. I just wanted to bring a brief update on Marcellus Williams, and I wanted to bring some awareness to Robert Roberson. He is scheduled to be executed in just 5 days, so I'm hoping that we can get this petition out there and help get some signatures on there and maybe stop this innocent man from being executed. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about his story, and then we're going to listen to a really quick interview. And the interview is going to be the investigator, and they're going to be giving their thoughts on Robert. So I'm going to go ahead and play this really quickly, just so we can get a brief overview of Robert Roberson, and also so that we can get a brief update on what is going on with Marcellus Williams. The Williams family held a janaza, which is a memorial service in remembrance of Marcellus Williams. The family members of Marcellus Williams say they have received unalivement threats since the state of Missouri executed him back in September. Threats were made via phone calls, emails, and anonymous social media messages. The Islamic Foundation of St. Louis, which handled the service, instituted a lockdown after also receiving threats. Efforts to spare Williams from the death penalty garnered national and international attention. Williams was imprisoned for the 1998 unaliving of former St. Louis Post-Dispatcher reporter Felicia Gayle. Williams had maintained his innocence. His lawyers and advocates had fought against his execution for years, arguing that prosecutors improperly handled DNA evidence and improperly selected the jurors for the case. While we lost the fight to save Marcellus Williams' life, we still have time to stop the execution on October 17th of Robert Roberson. Robert Roberson is an innocent father with autism who has spent over 20 years on death row in Texas for a crime that never occurred. Robert Roberson was committed to being a present father to his chronically ill 2-year-old daughter, Nikki. Tragically, Nikki passed away from prior medical conditions after a fall from bed, and Mr. Roberson was wrongly convicted of her unaliving. Robert was a special education student when he dropped out of school after the 9th grade. He had undiagnosed autism spectrum disorder. Hospital staff did not know Mr. Roberson had autism and judged his response to his daughter's grave condition as lacking emotion. Robert Roberson was prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced to unalivement using a now discredited version of the shaken baby syndrome hypothesis. You are beautiful, yes you are, it's just a scar. It doesn't change how we love you or who you are. Keep stepping in your purpose, you are a star, whatever you are. Okay, so that was just a brief introduction to Robert Roberson. Let me go to the chat. I seen there was a question in the chat, so I want to address that, and then we can go ahead and move on to the interview. So, wait, the crime never occurred, or he didn't do the crime. So, we're going to listen to the investigator, and then you can be the judge after you hear the story. Let's listen to the first piece of it, and then we'll come back and we'll go from there. So let's take a listen to the next part of it. And from there, we can better determine a little bit more about what's going on. So let's take a listen here. I'll probably pause it a little bit to give some commentary just because I'm not really sure how these people are with their commentary, but let's just go ahead and take a listen.
Hello and welcome to The Excerpt. I'm Taylor Wilson. In 2002, Robert Roberson brought his very sick 2-year-old daughter, Nikki, to the emergency room. She died the next day. After daughter's diagnosed SBS, or shaken baby syndrome, Roberson was arrested and later convicted. He now sits on death row in Texas, scheduled for execution on October 17th. The man largely responsible for putting him there is Brian Wharton, the former police detective who led the investigation and subsequent arrest of Roberson. Wharton, now an ordained minister in the United Methodist Church, says he made a mistake and Roberson is in fact innocent. Will it be enough to save his life? Brian, thank you so much for joining me today on The Excerpt.
I'm glad to be here.
So, Brian, let's just start here. Would you tell us about Robert Roberson and kind of give us a snapshot of what happened 22 years ago as you understood it back then?
Robert took his child to the hospital because she was unresponsive when he found her in the morning. I sent an investigator to the hospital. After some time there, the investigator let me know that there was too much going on for him to kind of take it all in, and so he asked for some help, and so I went. And then the two of us began to kind of open our investigation. The ER itself around the child, around Nikki, was rather frantic. They were doing a number of medical procedures, life-saving procedures, I guess. And then the father was there. Robert was there. The hospital folks had already noticed that there was something odd about him and mentioned that to us. And then our initial contacts with him, that showed itself. He was not emotionless, but very just kind of flat. Nothing we said or nothing that was going on in the hospital seemed to garner what you would consider a normal reaction to the circumstances. He was very matter of fact in his answers to us. And this is the way it continued with him through the investigation.
Brian, why was Roberson convicted, in your opinion? What was it that convinced the jury to convict him?
Well, I think at the time, we all felt like we had good information, that we were presenting to the court a strong case for shaken baby syndrome. We had established that at the time the child became incapacitated, that Robert was the only adult in the room. The medical examiner's report, the report from the hospital in Dallas, all kind of came together and spelled out shaken baby syndrome. As we got closer to trial, that there was nothing else that we felt like that we needed to run down. We had a diagnosis. He was the one there. He admits he was there. He talks about her falling out of bed that night and possibly hitting her head, but that they went back to bed and everything was fine, and then waking up later to find her non-responsive and taking her to the hospital. So he kind of puts himself there at the time that the alleged injury would have occurred and nobody else is present. That's the case that went to trial. And we were very comfortable with that. Now, that said, there were some parts of what made it into the trial that made me uncomfortable. But this is, after the fact. I'm not in the room when it occurs. I just come to understand that it happened. And part of that was the introduction of the sexual assault claim against Robert from the evening. While he was in the emergency room, there was a sexual assault nurse available, and she examined Nikki and indicated that she saw signs that were indicative of an assault. She was the only one that saw those. Um, there was no further evidence to corroborate what she saw. It didn't show up in the medical examination. It didn't show up anywhere. But out of an abundance of caution, we had all the physical evidence examined for anything that was indicative of sexual activity. And nothing. There was no physical evidence of sexual activity. But that allegation was still made before the jury. And so that was, for me, in the years following, a part of what was unsettling to me. To me, that tainted the jury process. And then right before this thing goes to jury for conviction, they withdraw the charge. So it wasn't a convicted offense.
Brian, as we've mentioned, a core issue that you take with Roberson's conviction centers on shaken baby syndrome.
Yes.
What makes you so certain that Nikki did not die of SBS?
Well, I'm not a biomedical engineer. I am not a physician. From what I glean from the writing and what I'm able to read, it just didn't happen that way. It doesn't feel like it happened that way. There's no evidence that it happened that way. What I understand about shaken baby syndrome, and particularly in her case, is if she was shaken significantly enough to create the internal brain injuries that were seen, there would have had to have been also neck injuries. And there were no neck injuries. The additional medical evidence that the pathologist missed, as far as like the pneumonia, she had substantial pneumonia in both lungs, and she was on Phenergan and another opioid to help her with pre-existing conditions, both of which were respiratory suppressants, and neither of which you're allowed to prescribe to children anymore. These things all contributed to what was going on in her body, but we took none of those other things into consideration. There's no surety here anymore. There's no beyond a reasonable doubt here anymore. There's plenty of doubt that we got it wrong. I mean, that Robert is a completely innocent man, and we got it completely wrong because we were looking for the wrong things. We fell into the trap of confirmation bias. That emotional charge in the hospital, that here's a 2-year-old little girl that is about to die. Somebody did this to her. Who did it? How did it happen? And the first thing you hear is abuse, shaken baby syndrome, and we just take it and run with it. And we find all the facts that we need to make it stand up.
So, does that answer your question a little bit? Even now, at this point, there's still some speculation in the conversation. You have a lead investigator who sends another investigator out to the scene. They get to the hospital. The hospital staff is frantic. There's a lot of stuff going on. They need backup. So the main investigator, he goes in. This is Brian Wharton, the person who is being interviewed. He goes to the hospital. They are trying to figure out what's going on. Again, the hospital staff is frantic. The father is there, and he has pretty much a blank stare on his face, and he's not really reacting to his child being in this grave condition. So you have one hospital lady that comes up and says, "Hey, I think it's shaken baby syndrome." The little girl had 104 fever the day prior. She is chronically ill. She has several issues going on in her body, and none of those things were being looked at. You then have this situation of another doctor coming along and saying, "Hey, I think she was assaulted, SA'd." They do all the tests that they need to do to figure out if the child was SA'd. No evidence of anything. You still have dad who is going to remain socially disconnected because obviously he has a mental disorder of his own. He is suffering from autism. This was not detected by any of the detectives that is there, and this man has been sitting on death row for over 20 years, and he's literally going to be executed in 5 days. So let's take a listen to the rest of the interview so that we can get a little bit more about the story.
Hello and welcome. Brian, I want to take us back to something you said at the beginning of the conversation. You said that Roberson really showed little emotion on the day of his daughter's death. You've since learned that he has autism. Can you just tell us how this impacted your thinking on the case?
Well, I mean, it answers a lot of questions. The day that we met Robert, I mean, I remember distinctly those, again, the content of the conversations. I can't remember exactly, but I remember people commenting, he's not right. There's something wrong with him. He's not behaving in the right way. And we felt like that was maybe emblematic of some guilt feelings, that he's trying to hold everything close to the vest so that he doesn't give anything away. And I would assume, I couldn't be in the room because I was under the rule in the state of Texas when I can't, as a witness, I couldn't be in the room. But my assumption is that that's the way the jury saw it. We're talking about his child dying, and he is sitting there with an emotionless face, not responding to what's going on as we would in the courtroom. And so what does the jury think of that?
So there have also been some new medical and forensic developments in the case, Brian. Would you give us a summary of this, and why hasn't that been enough to overturn Roberson's conviction?
This wonderful English doctor observed in some child injury cases that there was this triad of symptoms that if you saw them, they were significantly related to a baby being shaken and harmed. And that was put forward as a theory. And what happened was that theory immediately got way too much traction and took off as a matter of fact. And so anytime that triad of injuries showed up, diagnosis shaken baby syndrome. And then the criminal fallout from that diagnosis. Since that time, the doctor who put forward that theory has said, no, y'all are misusing what I put forward as a theory. And then the additional scientific evaluation of that has just shown that not to be the case. Nikki was a child who was very sick from early on. She had a temperature of 104 the day before. She was on these medications. She had pneumonia. She had sepsis, undiagnosed sepsis. So there was a lot of stuff going on with the child before she was brought to the hospital.
So then, Brian, why haven't these latest kind of medical shifts in the thinking around shaken baby syndrome, why haven't they been enough to overturn the conviction?
There's $1 million question. Justice isn't the conversation. If it was justice that everybody was interested in, I think this would be a settled matter. But the courts and the prosecutors are resistant to change in this kind of change in as far as convictions. And so just trying to get new information in front of a court in a way that they have to evaluate it and give a fair reading of it is no simple matter.
Well, Brian, I want to hear a little bit more about your story. You went from chief of detectives to now being an ordained minister in the United Methodist Church. That seems like a dramatic career and lifestyle change. Was it Roberson's case the catalyst for your personal transformation, or was it perhaps the other way around?
It certainly was part of it. I mean, since I was a kid on the playground, I hated bullies and I hated the way people got treated by others. And so that's always been part of me, and it's been in my vocational choices. I was raised in a military family, and so that's where I started because that's what I knew. I didn't know anything else. But it's always been about taking care of those who can't defend themselves. So from the military, I went into police work, and in police work, as my faith was also growing at the same time, my faith journey was progressing. I came to start wrestling with what is justice. For me, it was a moving away from structural, procedural enforcement as giving the appearance of justice into a life that actually seeks justice.
And Brian, getting back to Robert's case, you actually met with him earlier this year. I'd imagine that was such a powerful experience. What can you tell us about that meeting?
He's in a prison not 12 miles from here. And so, I had the opportunity to begin to meet with him. I've visited him a couple of times now, and I hope to go visit him next week again. The first time was tough, knowing what I now know, believing what I now believe, and looking at someone behind plexiglass that I'm in part responsible for putting there, and knowing what he's facing. But what I found was a very kind and gracious man who spoke forgiving words to me, which were helpful to me, surprising to me. But sadly, if we're not successful here, as much as his forgiveness means, it doesn't help me. It'll hurt.
Brian, can you say it doesn't help you? Can you talk through your feelings a little bit on this? Is guilt the right word? The feelings you've been going through over the last couple of decades?
Well, so yeah, certainly that's part of it. But the further we went without any kind of relief, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be part of a process that's going to put an innocent man to death. So it's guilt, it's shame. There's anger here because I can't for the life of me understand how we are at the place that we're at right now. There has to be at some places in the system a real deliberate indifference. After conviction, Robert and men like him and women like him are no longer people that we see as human beings. They have no value. And so we don't think of them in the right way. So we certainly can't speak of them in the right way, and we won't judge them in the right way. So that there's that anger in me that again, I've been part of this. I am still hopeful that relief will come, but I don't think any of this is ever going away. I've been a part of advocating for Robert since Gretchen came and found me, his attorney came and found me. Regardless of what happens in Robert's case, I will continue to, in some way, be engaged in this ongoing problem in the state of Texas. It's beyond time for us to abolish the death penalty.
Brian, have you received any pushback from the law enforcement community for your stance here? And what do your former police department colleagues say?
I've not heard from any of them. I don't know. The few emails that I have gotten as a result of all this have been rather supportive of people in similar circumstances. I got an email from a police officer in Oregon, I think it was, who's kind of in the middle of a similar situation, trying to figure out how he can help. There are good people in the system that honestly want to do the right things. But it just, you become too many of us in the community around. I was saying this to my church this last week. We go home every night and we sit in front of the TV and we just assume that the world around us is working the way that it should be working. We have trust and faith in the systems, which for the most part is okay. It's true. But occasionally alarm bells will go off around us. And that's the moment for all of us to kind of sit up and pay attention and listen and learn and then make the adjustments. Let's not fear change. Let's not fear correcting our mistakes. And that's where we are right now. We have a system that just absolutely abhors the idea of admitting a mistake and then fixing a mistake.
Robert is set to be executed on October 17th. What's your message to listeners who may want to support your efforts to spare his life? What can they do to help?
The energy that's needed, it needs to come now to the board of pardons and paroles and to the governor's office, where the clemency will be considered. Speak your mind, speak your heart, let them know. You can go to the Innocence Project page. Don't take my word for anything. Go to the Innocence Project page and read the documents there, find out what's going on. And then if your heart feels led, speak. Your government needs to hear from you.
And Brian, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with after this conversation?
I would just say that, I was wrong. I didn't see Robert. I did not hear Robert. And as a consequence, he's in the place he's in now. He was probably then, but I just wouldn't let myself hear it and see it. But I can tell you now, he is a good man. He is a kind man. He is a gracious man. And he did not do what the state of Texas and I have accused him of.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, Brian, and good luck going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. I'm Taylor Wilson. I'll see you next time.
So as you can see, there was a lot. There was a lot that was missed. There was a lot that was wrong. Unfortunately, this child was very sick. And instead of anybody taking care of her and taking care of him, he needed help too. This is clearly he had, some mental issues that was going on. I'm going to get you guys a little bit more information. I was trying to find the mother and the family and things like that, but it's a little bit of a mess here. So I could only do but so much. And I didn't want to delay putting out the video any longer because we need people to go sign the petition as much as possible. I know that the petition did not save Marcellus Williams, but we have to keep trying. We have to keep doing these things, and this is why it's very important to make sure that you're voting on your state levels and in your cities, and making sure that the right people in office is not always about the presidential run. So I just want to make sure that you guys are paying attention to that and knowing who is for capital punishment in your state and who is not. This could be anybody. This literally could happen to anybody. I would hate for me to not be here in the future and something like this happens to my nephew or my niece or anything like that, or my child or my godchildren or anything like that. I would just hate for this to be a thing still. So we have to do what we can. We talk about a lot of things. We share a lot of things. These are the things that we need to be slipping in there and making sure that we're bringing awareness to. So what is our call to action? Why did we make this video? Because we need to do something. So whether it is calling through the governor's office, whether it is going to the Innocence Project's page, which is down in the description box, the petition is also pinned in the description box. It's very, very, very important that you get involved into these things, as they not affect you, they affect your neighbor, they affect everybody in the world. As we try to move through it and do the right things, we have these things that are happening. So it's not always about what was done, is what needs to be done. What needs to be done in this moment? A lot of things. Capital punishment is just not something that should be happening. It's been abolished in many states, and there are still some states, obviously, that are still doing this. Places like Texas, Missouri, things like that. This just should not be happening. So to the family of, Marcellus Williams, we definitely want to share our prayers and our thoughts to him. Rest in peace. I know that his family has been having a very hard time. They've been receiving threats and things like that. So when you see those posts, say something. Don't go silent on these things. These issues are very, very, very important, So I'm going to bring some more information. You'll see it throughout the post, throughout the upcoming days. We only have 5 days left. So please share, 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 share. Also, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So please make sure that go take the poll on my community page. If you have not gotten your self-check, I pray that you go ahead and do that. And I'm wishing you the best in your results for the year. Make sure that you're doing that yearly as necessary. Also, we'll be doing a domestic violence awareness panel. That one is going to be on the 17th. So look out for that. From the streets to the sheets, we talking about it all, how we protecting ourselves, making sure that, we, even with our friends and personals, we protecting ourselves and our personal boundaries. So we'll be doing that as well. If you missed my interview with Survivor Speaks, please go ahead and check that out. Hit the replay. Replay gang is just as important. Replay gang, if you're here right now, please like the video. Everybody in the building, please hit the like building right now, right now, right now. And let me double check the chat really quickly. See links to the description box. It should be there. I'll double check as soon as I end this live. Jella, hold on a second. I'll double check as soon as I end this live for you, and I'll make sure it's in the description box. But just give me a moment. As soon as I end the live, I'll make sure it's there. Hey, Survivor, how you doing? How you doing? Thank you for being here. Hit that like button for me, please, my love. And please make sure to go back and catch up if you missed any of it. There's a lot of information in here that needs to be heard. And obviously, I'm going to get you guys some more information over the next couple of days as well. I am going to make sure that the petition is updated in the description box. Again, shout out to Survivor Speaks in the building. Make sure you guys go check out our interview. Let me know how I did. It was my first interview. I had a little bit of glitching in the beginning of the video, but I did edit that part out for the replay gang. So hopefully if you're going back to watch it, just skip past like the first intro 5 minutes if it's still there, and you can get right to the interview. That way, I just want to make sure I don't have any more information to give you guys before I go. Let me double check this chat one more time. Okay, there you go, Jella. There you guys go. There you go. There you go. And I did put my other 2 pages in the chat as well. Be sure to subscribe to the Sneaky Link Las Vegas. I'm going to be giving you guys some live stuff on that page. And subscribe to Kick Check as well. I'm going to be putting some new content on both of those pages as well. So look out for that. And I think that's it. I did want hold on, let me see if I can do something right quick. Let's see. I did want to play you guys that song really quickly, simply because we didn't really get a chance to listen to it during our live. So I want to play it and I want to see how it sounds for you guys. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out the interview. And here's the song. Tell me how you like it.
You are beautiful, yes you are. It's just a scar. It doesn't change how we love you or who you are. Keep stepping in your purpose. You are a star, wherever you are.
I hope you know that you are worth it. This life, you deserve it. Nobody is perfect. Baby girl, I said you're worth it. Keep fighting for a purpose. I'm so sorry that you're hurting. Get in your fucking stance, this is your self-defense. Call your girl up, you know it's going up. We got your back, them prayers going up. We go Netflix, chill, cry and huddle up.
Walk with your head high and your chest up. You got this and we got you without a doubt. Kick this thing's ass, show her what you all about. The pain you have along with the engine makes you stronger. You are beautiful, yes you are. It's just a scar. It doesn't change how we love you or who you are. Keep stepping in your purpose. You are a star, wherever you are.
Get in your fucking stance, this is your self-defense. Call your girl up, you know it's going up. We got your back and prayers going up. We go Netflix, chill, cry and huddle up.
Walk Put your head high and your chest out. You got this and we got you without a doubt. Keep these things last, show her what you're all about. The pain you have longer, what the engine makes you stronger. You are beautiful, yes you are. It's just a scar. It doesn't change how we love you or who you are. Keep stepping in your purpose. You are a star, wherever you are. You are beautiful, yes you are. It's just a scar. It doesn't change how we love you or who you are. Keep stepping in your purpose. You are a star, wherever you are.
My content is so fire and you know that. That's facts. Ain't no looking past at the sneaky link. She's a hashtag. It's time to get this money. Hit me up on the cash app. I hear you talking big support, and now show me where your cash at. Cash app. Dig into that stash. Don't let the love ever slack. I'm forever giving back. My beauty is so black. Content is so fire and you know that. That's facts. Ain't no looking past at the sneaky link. She's a hashtag. It's time to get this money. Hit me up on the cash app. I hear you talking big support, and now show me where your cash at. Cash app.
All right, y'all. All right. I am out of here. I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for stopping by and rocking out with me. Please hit the like button on the way out. If you're on the replay game, please make sure you hit the like button. I put the link to all of my music in the chat if you guys want to check it out. Please do give me some likes over there too. And all is well. Please share if you care. And I am out of here. Peace.
I see you. I see you. You just a looking and a lurking. Get your ass up off the pressure sticks twerking. And your crowd see the like the pickers working. Now drop some links in the chat, you little sneakies, see some shit going down. Let's take a peeky. Who the fuck is you? Just call me sneaky. Ayo sneaky.